Which 49ers second-year player needs to ball out the most? And could this really be the most talented secondary Kyle Shanahan has had with the 49ers? Let's dive into it. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast on the Fans First Sports Network. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera, flying solo today. Michelle Majic is usually with me, but she's actually headed to Dallas for a little summer vacay, 4th of July vacay. So it'll just be me. Going to be a really short show because I'm actually going to head to ESPN Radio in Bristol to host there for a little while. But I had some things I wanted to get off my chest, some things I saw I wanted to respond to. So we will do that here. Before we do, just want to remind everybody, please rate, review, follow the Gold Standard Podcast wherever you get your podcasts, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And as always, I will be happy to take your questions, your comments as we go along. Ryan Hensley chiming in. Imagine not wanting to swim in a natural pool. Yeah, Twitter debate that he and I have gotten into today. I am at Stats on Fire on all the socials. He's a big natural pool guy. Even said he would be willing to throw some fish in there. I want no part of that. I don't like animals in the pool with me when I swim. Dogs I can tolerate. The rest of it, stay the hell away from me. That's just how I feel. But feel free to chime in on that as well. Okay. Big topic for today's show comes from an article actually that I saw on Niners Nation. Rohan, I believe, wrote the article, and it made me stop and think for a minute. And so I was like, you know what? If it's making me stop and think, then I probably should talk about it on the show. And the subject of the article is which second-year player needs to take a big step for the 49ers in 2024. I thought the answer was pretty obvious, but I thought there was some meat on that bone there that we can dive into. Look, the second-year players, not exactly like the cream of the crop. We know the 49ers have had, let's call it a checkered draft history, but let's just name all the second-year players, and then we'll dive into it. Ji'Ayir Brown, Jake Moody, Cam Latu, Darrell Luter, Robert Beal, D. Winters, Braden Willis, Ronnie Bell, and Jalen Graham. That is the list. I think it's pretty clear. First and foremost, Ji'Ayir Brown is the second-year player that needs to step up the most. He got to play a little bit last year. He flashed in his limited time. Of course, he had the massive interception in the Super Bowl. And he's going to play a prominent role this season for a couple of reasons. First of all, we don't know what's up with Hufanga. We don't know. He said his goal is not to be ready for the preseason. It's to be ready for week 1. So that right there should cast some doubt on just how long it's going to take him to get back and return. And again, whenever we talk about injuries, it's not just return to play, it's return to performance. And so we don't know with Hufanga, when is that going to be week 1 when he can really get in there and be himself? We'll have to see. Sorry, I'm just throwing up a topic bar, and I realized I can't type and talk at the same time. So you've got the Hufanga factor. The other thing I don't know is, like, would they play Hufanga and Ji'Ayir Brown together at the same time? Are they comfortable with those being the starting safeties? We thought maybe Tashawn Gibson would come back. He's a free agent. Well, he just got suspended for performance-enhancing drugs. He's going to miss the first 6 games of the year this year. So maybe we could see a Ji'Ayir Brown Hufanga thing, assuming Hufanga's ready to go. Also, hanging out there is Justin Simmons, still all-pro safety, just chilling in the free agent pool. Like, maybe the 49ers sign him. They've talked about wanting to add another safety. Maybe they sign him and they feel more comfortable going Hufanga and Simmons. I don't know. We'll see. But it's interesting. I think that Ji'Ayir Brown, one way or another, is going to find his way into the lineup. He needs to step up. And I've said it with Hufanga. I've said it with Brown once we got to see him. I will live with my safeties getting beat, potentially being out of position sometimes, giving up some plays sometimes, if they are also generating game-changing plays, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, interceptions. We can talk a lot about Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tartt and how they were almost always in the right position and they didn't give up a ton of big plays, but they also didn't make game-changing plays. And if I had to choose between those two, I'm choosing the game-changing plays people. I'm going to live with some of the mistakes. I am. And I know that there are some, and I know that I am biased when it comes to Talanoa Hufanga because I remember his great plays. I don't remember his mistakes. They're less obvious, so I'm a little biased. But I'm still willing to live with them. So I think Ji'Ayir Brown needs to step up the most. For anybody in the chat, I know Sear is asking. Joser from Twitch, shout out to the Twitch fam. We love you. Michelle had a little 4th of July vacation today, so she couldn't make the show. So you're stuck with me solo. Again, I apologize for that. I won't take up too much of your time. I appreciate your support. I appreciate everybody watching. Ji'Ayir Brown, number one to me with a bullet. The fact that the 49ers, oh, by the way, have Malik Mustafa that they drafted is another safety option. But clearly there's going to be some intrigue at the position, especially because Hufanga is a free agent after the year. So I think the 49ers would tell you they really need Ji'Ayir Brown to step up, because if it's not this year, then next year he's definitely going to have a prominent role on the team. Donald Johnson says, I think Jake Moody needs to step up the most. I want to get to Jake Moody in a bit. There's one more player I want to talk to before him. Joser is asking, will this be on a podcast audio later at work at the moment? Yes, it will. I'm going to get to it as soon as possible. like I said, I got to go to ESPN radio after this, but I will make it a podcast. I promise. Kyrie, sorry. LOL. My bad. Love you stats. Figured she would be hungover. Well, I don't know what her 4th of July was like, but I can't speak to her current physical state. Anyway, okay, so that's Ji'Ayir Brown. By the way, we are 11 days from rookie reporting for training camp. Not the second-year players. That's the week after, but we are 11 days. We are Ayuk days away from rookies reporting for training camp. The next second-year player that I think needs to step up and would really help the 49ers if he does is Robert Beal. This is a guy, they made a big deal about his GTFO score, get the bleep off score, right? They loved him coming out of the draft. Did not contribute much last year. Played just 4 games, 1 sack, 5 combined tackles, did have a tackle for loss and a quarterback hit. You know, Chris Kasarik is renowned for his ability to be able to squeeze the juice out of the orange when it comes to defensive linemen and make guys better in his system than they might otherwise be. Well, I'd like to see that with Robert Beal, because I know we have Leonard Floyd. I know we have Nick Bosa, and that's great. But on the edge, the depth isn't as deep as it has been. It hasn't been great. So if Robert Beal could step up, that would be massive. We know everything with this defense is all about the pass rush. That sets the tone for the entire defense. It lets the linebackers be able to do their thing. It helps out the secondary, which we know has had some issues here and there, although, like I said, I think that could be changing. But you can never, ever, ever have too many good edge pass rushers, period. There's never been a team in the history of the NFL where it's like, oh, my God, I wish they didn't have so much depth at the edge. Like, never, 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 never. So if Beal could step up, that would be massive, massive for this team. It would allow Bosa and Leonard Floyd maybe to get some rest at certain times, just lighten the load on everybody. And they loved him coming out of college. I remember how much they were gushing about him. It really made me think like, hey, maybe this could be another one of their 5th round steals, right? What we've seen in the past. It didn't materialize last year. I'm not saying it can't. It would be a big leap, though, for Robert Beal. Like I said, he literally only played in 4 games, didn't start a single game last year. And that was when they had a Week 18 game with nothing to play for. So I would like to see a solid contribution from Robert Beal. Again, it doesn't have to be 10 sacks, but you give me 5 to 7 sacks and just a guy that consistently can force pressure, you know, play like some of the guys we have seen, some of the role-playing defensive linemen that we have seen come in for a year or 2 and fill some roles. I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation for Robert Beal. And it would be a massive, massive, massive lift to this team if he could get it done. So he would be my number 2. Now, somebody mentioned Jake Moody. Donald Johnson mentioned Jake Moody. Let me throw a couple Jake Moody facts at you, and then we can talk about it if you want to. Was Jake Moody the best kicker in the NFL last year? No, not even close to it. But I do think it's fair to bring up Jake Moody was way better than the average rookie kicker, and one of the best rookie kickers we have seen recently. The average rookie kicker since 2000, and Levin wrote an article on this on our website, goldstandardniners.com, before the year even started to kind of set the expectations. The average rookie kicker since 2000 has made 79% of their kicks. That is not good. Jake Moody made 84% of his kicks last year. So he was way better than the average rookie kicker. And those are drafted guys. Those are undrafted guys, everybody. Again, I'm not here to tell you that Jake Moody was the greatest kicker in the NFL, but I think we needed to set our expectations in line with reality when it came to him. He was way better than the average rookie. 5 kickers drafted in the 3rd round or earlier made 75% of their kicks. Again, Jake Moody, 84%. So he was better than the average rookie kicker. By the way, Robbie Gould, in case you're wondering, made 87.5% of his kicks in his lifetime with the 49ers. He made 77% of his kicks as a rookie, almost 78% to be fair. What I think is reasonable to expect for Jake Moody in year 2 is I think he could be even better. 49ers special teams coaches have talked about this, about how he learned a lot last year, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect a jump from him in year 2. Robbie Gould, as I said, went from 77.8% to 89% in year 2. Justin Tucker is ridiculous. It went from 91% his rookie year to 92% his second year, but that is improvement nonetheless. Sebastian Janikowski was drafted in the 1st round. He made 69% of his kicks his rookie year. That went all the way up to 82% his second year. So we have seen rookie kickers come in and have a big jump from year 1 to year 2. Jake Moody made 84% of his kicks last year. Could he bump that up to 90% this year? That would be absolutely fantastic. The other thing to remember with the 49ers, and I think this was probably something they were banking on when they drafted a rookie kicker, they don't attempt a ton of field goals because the offense is so damn good at sticking it in the end zone. Jake Moody made, I think it was 6 kicks his first 2 weeks. And then the last 14 games of the season, the Niners in total attempted 16 field goals. So just 16 field goal attempts in the last 14 weeks of the regular season. They don't kick that much. So they're sticking it in the end zone. So I think they looked at it and they were like, how big of a problem is this? Oh, by the way, Moody was also 60 of 61 in extra points last year, made 98% of his extra points in the regular season last year. I know he missed some kicks in the playoffs. Again, I'm not telling you he was the best kicker in the league, but he was far from bad. And I think there's real logical reason to suspect him to be much better in year 2. That's all. If he's not much better in year 2 and you want to make a decision on him, that's fine. I'm cool with that. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So those are my 3 biggest that I wanted to talk about second-year players. Ji'Ayir Brown, Robert Beal, and Jake Moody. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and this I saw on Pro Football Focus, they were extremely complimentary of the 49ers secondary. When I saw the ranking, and it was a secondary ranking, and I'll see if I can find it, I think they had them as the best secondary in the NFC, and I think the second best in all of football, which I thought, second best in all of football seems a little bit high. And I still think it is. But I do think that it's definitely possible that the 49ers could have the best secondary under Kyle Shanahan. I don't think that's crazy. And that obviously would be great because then you take a little pressure off the pass rush, which for years it was always the pass rush having to take pressure off the secondary. Maybe it's the other way around this year. Maybe it's, hey, the pass rush might not be as deep as it's been in years past, but we've got Diamador Lenore and Charvarius Ward and whoever the hell they throw at safety and Isaac Yiadom in there. And they're sort of doing the work to help maybe get a couple coverage sacks. Oh, believe it or not, maybe we could do that. Maybe we wouldn't have to sack the quarterback 1 second after he drops back to pass. So I really do think this could be the best secondary in the Kyle Shanahan era. And maybe that's not saying much, but it would go a long way to helping this team get back to the Super Bowl if they wanted to do it. Now let's get into why I think that may be the case. First and foremost, Charvarius Ward. Charvarius Ward is so good and has outplayed his contract since he's come to the 49ers. No corner in the league last year was targeted more than Mooney Ward, and he allowed the 6th lowest passer rating in the league. He had an 86.5 PFF grade. That is stunning to me. When you're getting targeted, when you're as good in the run game and as physical in the run game, That is a stud at corner. That is a guy that is incredibly rare to find in the National Football League, to get both of those things. Usually it's one or the other. Usually you might be a really physical corner, but you can't cover anybody. Well, Mooney Ward does it all. He has been fantastic for the 49ers. He needs a new contract after the season. Doesn't have to be a 5 or 6 year contract, but I would love to see them get that done with him. He absolutely has earned it. Now, you throw in Diamador Lenore, who's had success not only outside, but also in the slot. I think he's an ascending player for the 49ers. And the Isaac Yiadom deal is really interesting. He was good for the Saints last year. He had an 80 coverage grade from PFF. 4th in completion percentage allowed was Isaac Yiadom. 29th in EPA per target. That, to me, says he could be a very, very solid player. So if you have a great corner in Ward, you have a really good ascending corner in Diamador Lenore, and you have a solid player in Isaac Yiadom, that gives 3 corners on the 49ers that are at least solid. That's something they haven't had in the Shanahan era, I don't think. Not that deep. And then you throw in second-round pick Renardo Green behind it. Now, the safeties, again, like I said, it's a bit of a question mark, but I think whoever the 49ers throw in at safety is going to be good. I don't think they're going to be terrible. We'll see, how high that ceiling is. We have to find out, but I think they're going to be at least league average at safety at worst. So that probably is the best secondary that Kyle Shanahan has had. And again, that takes the pressure off of everybody. When you look at the 49ers schedule, which I can bring up here in a second, I could put it on the screen so you don't always have to stare at my big, giant, ugly face this whole time. They got some quarterbacks that are going to put that schedule to the test. They got some guys that are going to give the 49ers all they can handle from a scheduling standpoint. Do I still have the schedule handy? No, of course I don't. Why would I have the schedule handy and ready to go when I'm talking about the friggin' 49ers this season? All right. I'll bring up the ESPN webpage so we can take a look at it. You start with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. In the playoffs, the 49ers have had Aaron Rodgers' number. In the regular season, he's had the 49ers number for the most part. So they're going to have to step it up against him. So week 2 could be Sam Darnold. Who the hell knows? I would love it if it's Sam Darnold. Might be J.J. McCarthy with the Vikings. We'll see. Week 3, they got to go to L.A. That's going to be Matthew Stafford. That's another tough quarterback test. Drake May in New England. We think it's going to be Drake May or Jacoby Brissett. Either one, 49ers defense should be able to handle. Kyler Murray in week 5. We know the skill set Kyler Murray brings. Not going to be easy. The 49ers defense should be able to handle it and have handled it in the past, but we'll see. Jonathan Gannon has shown he's not an idiot in Arizona. The Cardinals actually have a guy that's not a terrible coach, so we'll see if that changes anything with Kyler. Geno Smith has never beaten the 49ers. He's not a bad quarterback, but certainly a quarterback the 49ers have handled. Then you get to Patrick Mahomes in week 7. He has had up and down games against the 49ers, both in the playoffs and the regular season, but he's never lost to the 49ers. So, yeah, that's a test. Dak Prescott, the 49ers have had great success, but he's not a bad quarterback. He'll put the secondary to the test. Tampa Bay's Baker Mayfield. I'm not worried. Geno Smith, again, not worried. Jordan Love, that's going to be fascinating. I can't wait to play that game against the Packers. We'll see. He's been getting a lot of hype, a lot of praise. We'll see. He had his up and down moments against the Niners in the playoffs last year. Josh Allen has destroyed this defense. They play him in week 13. That's going to be a test. Caleb Williams in week 14 with the Bears. Who knows? Then it's Matt Stafford again. Tua, Jared Goff would be another interesting game. And then Kyler again. So this secondary, it's not going to be an easy road for the 49ers. So this is probably the year that they need the best secondary of the Kyle Shanahan era, quite frankly. And I think they very well could have it. And if Ji'Ayir Brown takes a big jump in year 2, and if Hufanga comes back and he's strong and they decide to go that, or if they do add Justin Simmons, an all-pro, then you're looking at not just the best secondary of a Shanahan era, then you are looking at potentially one of the best secondaries in the league. Again, I think PFF had him second in the entire NFL. I don't know that I would go that high, but if a couple of guys flash and hit their ceilings, maybe. Then it's like, damn, okay. That would take a lot of pressure, not only off the pass rush, but also off the offense, right? You don't need to score 60 touchdowns like the 49ers offense did last year, most in the NFL. Donald Johnson says the secondary looks decent. Andre says that's a loss. I don't know which game specifically you were referring to, Andre, but I appreciate the comment. I would assume it's the Chiefs game or the Bills game. I think those are going to be tough for the Niners. But appreciate you, Andre, and all our YouTube channel members. Please, if you want to support the show and the channel and me, sign up to be a YouTube channel member. It's less than $3 a month. It's $2.99 a month. You get priority comment response, custom emojis, membership badges. I should probably come up with some more perks for that, and maybe I can do that this off season. But please, please, please become a YouTube channel member. Also, Levin and I are going to start an NCAA 25 league, a dynasty, like a joint dynasty with whoever wants to come and play. But you got to have to be a YouTube channel member to participate in that as well. We'll have a prize for you. Haven't figured out what it's going to be. Probably an autographed jersey, I would think. But we are going to do that. So if you want to be a part of that, I would love it for you to be a part of it. But you will have to be a YouTube channel member to do that. So please go ahead and sign up. Andre clarified, can't pick the 49ers against Mahomes until we see it. Totally fair, Andre. I'm totally with you. But like, you could say the 49ers have played them tough in some of the games, and they have, but they've never beaten it. So I agree. Until they show it, I want to see it. Donald Johnson also points out week 1 will be the Leonard Floyd versus Aaron Rodgers rematch. It will also be the Hassan Reddick, Brock Purdy rematch, because he's the one that injured Brock, and he's on the Jets now too. Although they're in a contract dispute, I think. So who the hell knows what's going to happen there. But anyway, that was the 2 things I wanted to mention on the show today. Also, I forgot about this before we go. If you are a 49ers fan of a certain age, you remember Dion Sanders playing with the 49ers in 1994. He went on to win Defensive Player of the Year and helped them win their last Super Bowl, which is 30 years ago now. Nike is re-releasing the shoes that Dion wore that year when he won the Defensive Player of the Year with the 49ers. He had a custom color scheme because he was with the 49ers. The OG, or the Nike Air Diamond Turf is what they were called. If you're watching the stream right now, you could see them. I think they are so damn cool. And maybe it's just because Dion, was so good for the 49ers that year, and I could picture him high stepping down the field wearing those things against everybody. But I usually don't like football player shoes, but I thought those were damn cool. And that's cool that Nike is re-releasing them. They're going to return spring 2025 is when they're going to come back. I think they're awesome. Some people hate them. I'm not much of a sneakerhead myself, but I do happen to like those. So I thought that was pretty cool, because if you're an old head like me, you remember Dion wearing those for the Niners and just dominating everybody. And it's cool to see him bringing them back. Maybe that's what it takes, right? Look, it's been 30 years. We got to try some stuff. Kyle Shanahan's growing a mustache. Nike's bringing back the Dion shoes. I don't care. Whatever it takes, whatever voodoo we need to do to exorcise the demons that the 49ers have had, I'm on board for, okay? Yes, please, because at this point, I'm getting desperate. Thomas Luttrell says, I was in 4th grade the year we got Dion. Me too. I was so hyped when he got the pick 6 on the Falcons, and he was hyped too. He played for the Falcons. It didn't end well. He leaves, goes to the 49ers. They play the Falcons in Georgia at the house that Dion built, as he put it, and he gets an interception in that game right on the Falcons sideline and high steps for like half the field, staring at the sideline the entire time as he goes into the end zone. It had to be one of the sweetest plays of his career. You can go watch it on YouTube. Not now. This is our time. I actually interviewed Dion, and he told me that 49ers team that he played on was the best team he ever played on. Better than the Cowboys when they won the Super Bowl the next year. Better than the Ravens teams he played on late in his career, or the Washington teams, or any of the Falcons teams. He said the Falcons teams, they probably had the most fun, but he said the Niners team in 94 was the best team he was ever on. And it makes sense because they were loaded with Hall of Famers. They had Dion. They had Richard Dent, Steve Young, Jerry Rice. They were absolutely loaded with players. They loaded up that year, first year of free agency. May or may not have violated salary cap rules. So what? Who cares? They won. And that's no surprise that Dion said it was one of the best teams he has ever been on. I saw another chat. Sheldon Salazar says, what do you think of The Acolyte? I am a huge Star Wars fan. I actually haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet, Sheldon. I know I've seen good and bad things online. I do want to watch it. It's on the list. I haven't watched it yet, but I will definitely get to that. So sorry I can't give you a review. Oh, Ricky Jackson was on that 94 team too, as Thomas points out. Yep. Like it was ridiculous. They had Ken Norton Jr., who they got from the Cowboys. They added him. Gary Plummer was on that team, not a Hall of Famer, but a very solid player. Christian McCaffrey's dad, Ed McCaffrey, was on that team. John Taylor was still there. Brent Jones was there. Ricky Waters, who was a freaking stud for them. He was like McCaffrey back in the day. Unbelievable team. Probably the best 49ers team I'll ever see, quite frankly. This group can come close, but that 94 team didn't just have a lot of good players. They had a lot of Hall of Fame players. So, and Donald says he still has the OG pair of the Dion shoes. Respect, man. Those are probably worth something. I don't know what kind of condition they're in. But anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Again, quick show today, solo show. We appreciate it. Please rate, review, and follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. We'll be back on Monday. Me and Vish, of course, holding it down for you. Hopefully we get an Ayuk signing every day. I keep hoping. I don't know if I got to like rub some sort of idol or something to get that done, but whatever we need to do, hopefully we can get that done. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy the rest of your 4th of July weekend, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.